strong south wind is churning famed Kentucky Lake, challenging men and machines to the utmost. Join us as 160 of Mid-America's best bass fishermen from 11 states try to overcome the elements and bring in limits of Kentucky Lake bass at the Bass Pro Shops Fall Pro-Am Spectacular. The Fishin' Magazine television series is brought to you by Ranger Boats, where they still build them. One Pro-Am Spectacular marks Central Pro-Am's first trip to Kentucky Lake. And so, many of the Pro-Am anglers will be facing the toughest test they've ever faced. In all of America, there are no other lakes like Kentucky Lake and its companion Lake Barkley. These two lakes were formed by dams on the Tennessee and Cumberland rivers, which flow nearly 700 miles from the mountains of eastern Tennessee and Kentucky to the Ohio River. They end up near Paducah, Kentucky, flowing virtually parallel. And by coincidence of the hilly Kentucky landscape, before the creation of the lakes, they were separated by only a single small ridge in western Kentucky. Kentucky Lake was built first in 1944 and covers 160,000 acres. 20 years later, Barkley was impounded, and it covers 60,000. They're connected by a short canal, barely a mile long, cut through that remarkable little ridge, which eventually broadens to become the nationally famous Land Between the Lakes. Central Pro-Am originally scheduled this tournament for the first weekend in November. But to avoid conflicts with other tournaments, it was postponed a week. And what a difference that's made. A week ago, amid glorious Indian summer weather, it took 20 pounds a day to win those tournaments. But a cold front and then strong gusty winds from the south have changed all that. In practice, the Pro-Am anglers had trouble holding their boats on the spots they wanted to fish. And the tournament itself promises more of the same. On the morning of day one, the Pro-Am anglers wait in the darkness in the protected marina at Kentucky Dam State Park, knowing they'll be heading out to face 30-mile-per-hour winds that will make fishing difficult and navigation treacherous. Dave Barker is Central Pro-Am's #3 all-time leading money winner and has won 6 Central Pro-Am tournaments. But like many of the younger anglers, he's never fished on Kentucky Lake. As a result, he and amateur partner Dennis Dorrance are staying close and beginning the day in Little Bear Bay. Barker located fish here during practice, but this morning they don't seem to be active. The wind is also making the fishing more difficult than Barker had expected. But when Dorrance finally gets a strike, Barker is encouraged that they will eventually catch fish if they just stay patient. Don Dreiling is one of Central Pro-Am's most avid competitors, but he's yet to land a keeper. Dreiling fished in the amateur division for several years and then moved up to the pro division. For each tournament, he faces a drive of 6 hours or more from his home in Garden City, Kansas. To fish in this tournament, Dreiling had to drive 900 miles, so he believes he deserves a whole lot more respect than he's getting from the Kentucky Lake bass this morning. Jeff Faust is like many of the Pro-Am anglers. He expected to come here and fish Kentucky Lake's productive open water structure. Big smallmouth bass often school up in 10 to 20 feet of water along underwater humps and ridges that were once hilltops before the lake was formed. Between these ridges and the remains of old roadbeds and flooded towns, it's little wonder that open water patterns are the favorites of many Kentucky Lake regulars. Unfortunately, the strong south wind that can produce big rollers of 6 to 8 feet beyond the Ken Lake Bridge makes fishing open water nearly impossible. So Faust is doing the best he can on semi-protected points on the western shore of the lake. Jeff Evans runs a fishing tackle store in nearby Benton, and he's considered one of the best around Kentucky Lake. Today he's showing why. He and amateur partner Viola Mites are running a series of main lake points where Evans knows the bass concentrate in the fall, especially when the wind is blowing strong out of the south. Right now, they're concentrating on a small point with 2 feet of water adjacent to 20 feet. Evans already has his limit, and now he's hoping to catch larger bass that will enable him to cull some of his smaller fish. Terry Bolton is a national touring pro from Paducah who seldom gets to fish this close to home. Unfortunately, the wind is making it difficult for him to reach places he knows there are fish. The Kentucky Lake bass are showing Bolton about the same respect they're showing distant travelers like Don Dreiling. Still, Bolton has been able to scratch out a limit of small fish, and he's glad to have them. When the Pro-Am anglers return to Kentucky Dam Marina for the Day 1 weigh-in, David Wertenberger is one of the first to come to the scales.
You've got 3 bass today, 8.40 pounds. There's the leader right now in the amateur division. That's a great start.
As the weigh-in progresses, it's clear the difficult conditions have been tough on the amateur division competitors. 3/4 of the field comes in without a keeper, and most who come to the scales have only one. In the pro division, it's obvious it's been a tough day all around when former Bassmasters Classic champion Guido Hibden comes to the scales.
How you doing today?
Well, I'm doing fine now. I feel like I've got a few things tore up, but I'm fine. We made it in.
Now, I asked somebody else earlier, you talking about yourself or the boat?
Well, the Ranger, it's going to come in anyway. It's just me. I got to the Ken Lake Bridge this morning, and I thought, you know, I had a spot way up there. And I thought, boy, if I can get the big sandy, I'll lay it on them. And trust me, I carried it out. Anybody that went above Ken Lake Bridge, buddy, they deserve it.
Pretty good boat right up there, wasn't it, today?
It was.
Call this weight for you, 1.95 pounds, Guido.
A short time later, Ron Sanders takes the Pro Division Big Bass lead with this 5.1-pound largemouth. Then, Dion Hibden, also a Bassmasters Classic champion, weighs in.
I saw Dion this morning. I was over driving around and was over on the other side of the lake, and Dion invited me to go for a boat ride with him today.
I think it would have helped a little bit coming back because my butt's pretty red.
Now, what do you mean it would have helped a little bit?
Well, every little, dab of weight helps, makes a more solid ride when you hit.
I appreciate you calling me a little dab of weight. That's a nice thing. How many bass are in here? 3 bass that weigh 7.10 pounds.
Then it's Dave Barker.
How many you got to go with her, David?
A couple more.
2 more, 3 fish total, 7 3/4 pounds leading the tournament. Not anymore. 9.55 pounds. Here's your leader, ladies and gentlemen, Dave Barker.
Next is Terry Bolton.
770, 7.70 pounds. You going to do anything different tomorrow?
No, not really. I'm, like I said, I'm just fishing for whatever I can catch right now, and fishing's pretty difficult. So, I'm just going to go try to catch a limit of something.
Now, you fish all over the country, Terry, and this is what I guess you would consider your home water. Have you seen the lake do this kind of a turn, this much of a negative turn in recent years? And what do most people do to recover from that?
I'm really kind of puzzled. I don't, I was telling somebody today, the water's real clear right now. In the water, of course, we've lost about 7 or 8 degrees of water temperature. And, it's not clear compared to, like, table rock, but these bass are hard to catch when it's clear. At least they are here. They're not used to it. And I really don't understand. I thought they would bite better.
Then it's Brian Snowden's turn.
It's out of Bass Pro Shops, Mercury Outboard Motors. Mr. Brian Snowden joins us on the stage. How many fish you have for us?
I have 3 today.
3 bass. How you catching your fish, Brian?
Well, we caught them on a crankbait and Carolina rig.
So a little mixed bag of fish. 3 good fish, though, 7.15 pounds.
Then it's Jeff Evans.
5 bass right now leading the Pro Division. 9.55. Goodbye. 11.15 pounds. 11.15. $10,000 cash on the line. $3,150 in Bass Pro Shops entry fees on the line. Going to be able to back it up again tomorrow?
Mark it down.
You've won it. All right, boys, just go on home. Jeff's won the tournament.
At the end of the first day, Jeff Evans sits atop the Bass Pro Shops Fall Pro-Am scoreboard with 11.15 pounds. Dave Barker is in second place with 9.55 pounds, but he has only a narrow lead over Kelly Williamson, John Hartzell, and Terry Bolton. In the rest of the top 10, Don Berry leads the way in 6th place with 7.55 pounds, followed by Brian Snowden, Dion Hibden, Mike Terry, and Mike McDonald. In the amateur division, David Wertenberger holds the Day 1 lead with 8.4 pounds. Scott Stallings is 3 pounds back in 2nd place, followed by Cameron Roth, Ron Graham, Jeff Moore, and Matt Mundell. In the rest of the top 10, it's tight all the way. Alan Quick and Ken Schulte are tied for 7th with 2.85 pounds, followed by Dave Dill, Gary Gregory, and Chuck Lurzel. Stay tuned for exciting Day 2 action. We'll be right back. For Bass Fishing My Way, helpful hints from some of Central Pro-Am's top competitors. At the Fall Pro-Am at Lake of the Ozarks in 2000, Gary Carrier finally won his first Central Pro-Am title. He'd been close to winning before, but he finally came through by having the courage and patience to fish his way.
I tried to fish as many docks as possible yesterday because I knew they'd been getting beat up the last 2 or 3 weeks over here real bad, and so I want to cover as many docks as possible the first day before they got beat up. And I caught quite a few of them off the docks yesterday, and then today I started on them again, and I fished about 3 hours of docks this morning. I didn't do any good, so I changed it up, and the wind was blowing finally, and anytime the wind gets blowing this time of year on those points, then the fish will load up on them. And my, I don't know, 3rd or 4th cast with a crankbait, I caught a 540, and so I knew they were up on those points, so I just started fishing as many windy points as I could because everybody was seen to be concentrating and beating up the docks. I tried to do anything that's different than everybody else. I mean, if everybody says docks, then I'll go fish something different. If everybody's fishing something different, I'll go do docks. To win a big tournament, you about got to do something different. There's too many good fishermen and too much pressure on the lakes.
On the morning of Day 2, the Pro-Am anglers know for certain what they're facing, and they have their game faces on. They know conditions are likely to be as difficult as Day 1. But with Pro Division leader Jeff Evans at only 11 pounds, the Pro-Am competitors know that any one of them could still win if they're willing to take the punishment to get to their fish. Jeff Evans is out with the first flight and immediately begins the same milk run that produced for him on Day 1. One of the spots sits right next to the marked boating channel, but that doesn't concern Evans, who knows the bass congregate on these gravel points regardless of boat traffic. It doesn't take Evans and amateur partner Lauren Kelly very long to get rolling. But unfortunately, the bass they're catching aren't quite long enough to reach Kentucky Lake's 15-inch limit for largemouth bass. Kelly Williamson started the day in 3rd place, 3 pounds behind Jeff Evans. But already this morning, Williamson has moved to the front of the pack by catching a 4-pounder early. Unfortunately, he hasn't had a keeper bite since. And now he's trying his luck on open water drop-offs despite today's comparatively calm 20-mile-per-hour winds. Troy Akins is also having success today, although he's following a different strategy. Akins has become Central Pro-Am's #2 all-time leading money winner by fishing a small brown jig around boat docks. Since Kentucky Lake has no shortage of boat docks, Akins has decided to stick with what he does best. And this morning, it's paying off. He's located a section of docks holding a school of Kentucky bass, and Akins is making the most of it. He now has his limit, and he too has moved ahead of Jeff Evans. Meanwhile, Evans continues to suffer from a bad case of the shorts. He and Kelly are catching lots of bass, but somehow they can't seem to get one 15 inches long. Evans caught a number of non-keepers on the first day, but today the situation is even worse. The wind has shifted more to the west, so the spot where he caught most of his keepers the previous day is not holding fish like it did. By mid-morning, Evans has yet to put a bass in the live well, and Mr. Mark It Down isn't feeling quite so confident. Dave Barker is also struggling. By mid-morning, he has only one small keeper. Now, Barker didn't get a lot of strikes on Day 1, but the bass he did catch were good ones. Today, he was expecting the same thing, but that hasn't been the case. He and amateur division leader David Wurtenberger have been getting plenty of strikes, but all the fish they're catching are too short to keep. Still, Barker knows he won't get many opportunities, so when he lets a bass get away near the boat, he knows it could cost him big time. Brian Snowden is one of the anglers who has chosen to cross through the channel into Lake Barkley. It paid off the day before when he locked down into the Cumberland River to get out of the strong wind and then locked back up later in the day. His 3 bass put him only 4 pounds behind the leader, but today he's not having much success. Finally, amateur partner Hank Goodman hooks into a solid bass and works it back to the boat where Snowden grabs it with the net. Now, Snowden is encouraged, and he's determined to keep fishing right where they are. Meanwhile, Jeff Evans has made exactly the opposite decision. By noon, he has yet to land a keeper, and he knows his only chance of victory is to abandon the spots that were good to him on day one. As a result, he decides to head out into the rough water beyond the Ken Lake Bridge, where he knows other spots that might produce enough bass to win. And the Fishin' Magazine television cameras will pass, thank you. When the Pro-Am anglers return to Kentucky Dam Marina for the final weigh-in, the amateur division is in turmoil because day one leader, Dave Wurtenberger, has come in without a keeper. Fred Bauer is the first to take a run at the lead.
2 bass today, 7.45 pounds. 2-day total, 9.45 pounds. There's your leader right now in the amateur division.
Next is Pro-Am veteran Scott Dennis.
You're not grinning real big today. Normally you got a big old smile on your face. How many bass you got in there?
I got 5. You got 6 bass.
Going to weigh one for big bass first. 4.65 pounds. That's second big bass right now. We're going to get a picture of that one too. We'll weigh these. We'll weigh this. You got a whole limit of fish today. How'd you catch these fish?
I caught them Carolina Regan Liberty.
A limit of fish in the amateur division. This is the first limit we've had in the amateur division over the 2 days. Only 2 limits weighed in the pro division yesterday. 5 bass today. Holy cow. 13.70 pounds.
Finally, when it seems Scott Dennis has victory all wrapped up, Matt Mundell comes to the scales.
Had 1 bass yesterday that weighed 2.90 pounds. You got one in here today that could eat that one from yesterday.
Yes, sir, I do.
Holy cow. 7 pounds even. 7 pounds. Let's get a picture of this fish. May have to hold that with 2 hands. We're going to add to your yesterday weight of 2.90 pounds, another 7.90 pounds. 7.90 pounds. Currently leading the amateur division, 1370. Not going to get there, but you're going to move way up with that fish right there, my friend.
In the pro division, one of the first to weigh in is Kelly Williamson. Williamson has only 1 bass, but it weighs 4.5 pounds, and he jumps into the lead with a 2-day total of 12.7 pounds. Next is Mike Terry.
Got a bag of fish, ladies and gentlemen. 5 bass, 12.65 pounds. Get a couple of those fish out of here, get a picture of them. Nice job. What'd you do different?
I went to some new spots. I didn't say, the wind had me pinned down up here yesterday, which I ended up running down to where I fished about 40 miles from here. And today I just went on down. I just fought the waves, and it was rough. Just went on down there, and we had a real good day. I had the best day I've had in a while out there on numbers. I caught probably 30. Fishing spinnerbait and rattle trout, and most of them I caught on spinnerbait.
$10,000 first place on the line, $3,100 in free entry fees into the 2003 Freedom Tour. 19.10 pounds. You're a new leader in the pro division, Mike Terry, ladies and gentlemen. Nice job.
A short time later, it's Don Berry.
6th place yesterday. Don Berry from Springfield, Missouri had 755 with 3 bass. They got bigger today. 3 more bass, 8.55 pounds, 855. Get a 2-day total, 16.10 pounds. Not enough to take the lead, but boy, what a great tournament.
Then it's Ramey Colson.
How many fish you got in that bag? I got 5. Local guys bounced back well today. 13.30 pounds. 2-day total, 17.80 pounds. That's top 5 right now in the pro division. Put your hands together for Ramey Colson.
By the time the 3rd flight arrives, the severe weather coming from the west is moving in rapidly as Guido Hibden comes to the scales.
Yesterday he had 1 bass that weighed 1.95 pounds. Today he's got a limit of bass. Great recovery. 12.55 pounds, 12.55. Was it the location, Guido, today that made the difference?
Yeah, I was running all the way to Paris, and yesterday, whenever I got to the Ken Lake Bridge, it just kind of, I carried it out. That's what I done. I don't know. I used to never do that. 56 years old, I guess I have the right to carry it out every now and then, but I did. I just backed off of it. I turned around, I come back, and I said today, I told my partner, wait till you see the one he's got. I told him this morning, I said, you better tie everything down. I said, because we're going one way or the other. And we went. We caught the devil out of it.
Then it's Jeff Evans' turn.
My camera crew found you this morning at about 10:30, and you didn't have a bass, not a keeper. But you had a few small fish. Is that right?
Yeah, we probably caught about 30 while the Cameron boat was with us, but could not catch a keeper. And then I left, or they left, and I went somewhere else, and I just got 5 bites.
One of them's a good one here. 6.05 pounds. Big bass is worth another $1,000. First place, $10,000 cash, $3,150 in free entry fees. You almost didn't have to go fishing yesterday. 17.15 pounds.
It's in the record books now. Jeff Evans blows away the field to win his first Central Pro-Am title with a 2-day total of 28.3 pounds. Mike Terry finishes second with 19.1 pounds, while Ramey Colson, Don Berry, and Brian Snowden complete the top 5. In the rest of the top 10, Guido Hibden leads the way in 6th place with 14.5 pounds, followed by Troy Akins, Terry Bolton, Kelly Williamson, and Dave Barker. In the amateur division, Scott Dennis wins his second Central Pro-Am title with a 2-day total of 13.7 pounds. Matt Mundell's giant bass carries him to 2nd place honors with 10.8 pounds, followed by Fred Bauer, David Wurtenberger, and Scott Stallings. In the rest of the top 10, Mike Mueller holds down 6th place with 7.45 pounds, followed by Hank Goodman, Cameron Roth, Rick Hinnon, and Ken Schulte. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.